Hall of Fame. Here's Booker T and Brad Gilmore.
Welcome inside the Hall of Fame. I'm Booker T, 6-time world champ, 2-time Hall of Famer. Got my man Brad Gilmore here with me as always. Get ready to do this thing. Give it to the people as only we can. Bringing it to you from ESPN 97.5, 92.5. And man, I'm feeling good, man. I've been playing around the golf today, you know what I mean? I've been sitting around the house. You know me, and I like my trials, man. I love my trials. Right now I'm watching the Alex Jones trial, you know, the Sandy Hook, you know, deal and whatnot. And man, I tell you, man, it seems like every time this guy opened his mouth, money comes out, seriously. But how you doing, man? How you feel?
I'm feeling good. I haven't watched the Alex Jones trial. I've heard about it. Now, when he found guilty, didn't they get him or no?
Oh, he got about 10 more cases.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it's several families that's suing him right now. We're just in the second case right now, and I think he got a few more ahead of him. I don't know, man. I don't even know why you would want to put yourself in that position where you got to end up in court on a regular basis talking about stuff like this, man, because it's got to be training. Trust me, it's got to be training, especially when you are the guy that's going to be having to come out of your pocket. Even if you file bankruptcy and all that, it just seems like it should be a hassle. But some people seem to like, mayhem, you know what I mean? Controversy. I don't know, but it's crazy.
Some people live for it, man. I mean, did you ever watch the Michael Jordan doc? What was it called?
Last Dance.
Last Dance, yeah.
I watched some of it, yeah.
I don't know if you ever saw the part where they were talking about how Michael would just make up people who would talk trash about him. Like he went and scored 40 on some rookie from Cleveland because he said, "Oh, I heard him talk about me the last time we played the game." And it turns out this guy never said anything to Michael. Michael just needed that controversy to go out there and do what he was going to do. I guess it's a little bit different from what you're describing, but still, some people need that enemy, I guess is what I'm saying. They need someone looking across the ring from them.
You know what, man? I couldn't wake up every day, looking to go out in the world and, just get into it with folks over nonsense. That's what it seems like. It seems like nonsense as far as what I mean by nonsensical. Even for the thought of, for 1 second to think Sandy Hook was a hoax.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, for something like that, man, when people start thinking like that we got to question, 9/11. It just makes you wonder where we are in this world right now, man. Never in a million years that I would have thought we would have been at this point right now where people were thinking some of the craziest. And the thing is, we wouldn't even know about a lot of this stuff if it wasn't for social media, because that's the platform a lot of these guys own, so I'm happy we got social media just so I can know about people like that. But at the same time, man, the world is crazy. It really is.
I don't know. I know that he went out there and said Sandy Hook was fake or whatever, or didn't. It was a hoax. They hired actors.
He said that they were actors. None of this actually ever happened. And of course, after getting sued, he come around and say, "I believed it. Yeah, I believe it actually happened." But to start that rumor, to actually have people out there believing, that might be true, it's unbelievable. And the thing is, you cannot really. You really can't feel the gravity of it until you're in that situation of the parent that's hearing something like that about their child that they know that's gone and never going to come back. So I get it. I got kids, man. If something like that was to happen to me, man, I'd be in court. I'd be in prison. One of the two.
One or the other. I mean, like, I get people wanting to question things. I think that's what it means to be human, right? Like, we naturally are curious, like, oh, that doesn't make a lot. Like going back to the Jussie Smollett or the or even JFK, right? Like,
okay, yeah.
There's stuff that you want to question because you're like, that doesn't all the way add up. But things like Sandy Hook or September the 11th or any great tragedy, there are people out, and I'm not trying to get political, but there's just people out there who said that there was no attack on the Capitol on the 6th. That was all computer imagery
or those stage,
or those were hired people. I mean, there are people out there who believe that stuff, and whatever, more power to them, I guess. But I don't know how you can. No power to them. No power to them.
Let's forget about that. That's
good call. No power to them.
What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, I guess it's like, look, if you want to go off in the deep end and believe all these crazy things, be my guest. Like, I'm not.
If you like one of my sisters used to say, if you like it, I love it.
I guess. But I don't know. I don't know. I guess part of it. What on Alex Jones? So what did they find him guilty of? Like, what was the crime or what was the offense? Just saying that it wasn't real? Is that enough to convict some or find somebody guilty or
Well, it's the pain and suffering.
pain and suffering? So this is a civil lawsuit.
Yeah, yeah, the pain and suffering, you know what I mean? And the thing is, just like John Stossel, who was slapped by David Schultz, they asked him, was the pain related to, him, getting paid? He said, because, suddenly after I got paid, the pain went away.
All of a sudden, I was great.
Before that, he was having hearing problems. He can stand and be around his baby because the baby was crying. But as soon as he got that, I don't know, $250,000, everything got back to normal.
Money's a hell of a thing. It reminds me of that. I don't know if you ever watched the show Mad Men, but there's a scene where the main character's name's Don Draper, right? John Hamm, and his secretary's complaining to him like, "You never tell me thank you. You never give me, say please. You never treat me like a human." He goes, "That's what the money's for." That's what that's for. All right.
To be happy, right?
Be happy.
Hey, man, but nah, man, I've just been sitting around the house vegging out. I don't know why I'm so off into these trials, man. I'm off into, cases. I'm off into just watching people go out there. What's crazy is, man, what's crazy is, being a black man myself, growing up in the neighborhood, being one of those kids who almost destroyed his life,
Mhm.
and to be able to, that's one of the things I look at YouTube, and I see how many young people out there are just destroying their lives. I don't know if it's just because times are so hard now, and you would rather be in prison than be on the street. It's I'm just trying to figure out what the hell is going on, because young people, man, going to prison for life without the possibility of parole, 18, 19, 20 years old, out there just doing something stupid. It just makes you wonder, man, where we at in society.
If you're off into those trials, you really should watch this one I was talking about the other day. There's an HBO doc, the state versus Adnan Syed. And I would actually like your take on it
Well, my
because,
thing is, I don't like watching shows where the guy is actually innocent and they end up locking
well,
him.
they don't know. They don't know if he's innocent or not.
Okay.
Like I just went and re-listened to the case and try to go through it all again, and I still have no idea. Like I have doubts that he did it, and then I have doubts that he didn't. I mean, I think that sometimes he did it, sometimes I think he didn't do it. But he's got this friend named Jay, and that's where the case gets murky for me. I can't figure out Jay. Can't figure out his involvement in all this. You
Yeah.
got to. I think you'd get into it. I really do.
I don't
It
know,
seems
man.
like a Booker case. You might be able to crack the case. You know what I mean?
I
You might
probably-
be able to do it.
I might be. I might be able to. But my thing is, I like to see the guy. I like to know the guy's guilty.
Well, the thing about, and this, I'll find the interrogation, because the thing about this Jay guy is he says that he and Adnan did it together. Or no, that Adnan did it and then he called Jay to help him bury the body.
What was the crime?
The crime was murder. He said that the Adnan
Was it a murder of a family member?
no, it was murder of Adnan's ex-girlfriend ended up dead,
Okay.
strangled.
Okay.
Right. And they're 18 years old, still in high school.
Okay.
And Jay says that Adnan called him and they buried the body together. Okay, or whatever. That's kind of where this all starts. But Adnan says doesn't really even know Jay. He was at track practice that day. Like he knew Jay from a
I'm gonna tell you right
mutual
now,
friend.
he lied. When the first time when you say you don't even know somebody,
Well, like know him like that.
yeah,
Know him like that.
normally that's the first telltale sign.
Well, let's
Somebody
see.
say that, I don't know.
I want to hear what you say. I
Yeah,
want to hear what you say.
check it
about
out.
the
Check it
trial.
out. We gotta take a break. Stick around. You're in the Hall of Fame, man. We got a lot to talk about. We'll be back in a minute. And I tell you, man, I cannot wait, because right now I'm feeling good. I told you guys I had a little therapy done on the knees, a PRP therapy, man. I told you I was going to be dunking in a couple of days. But today I was doing the running, man. I'm back. I'm back. So I'm just saying.
You're back in 1985.
I'm feeling good. Wife had to slow me down for a minute, man. because I thought I was kid and played.
Paid monetary spokesperson for Walker, Texas lawyer.
Hey, this is Booker T.
And I'm Queen Charmel.
Everybody out there, we will be supporting HBCU football on CW39.
As a Spelman grad, I know I'm supporting them. But remember, if you're injured in an accident, who you gonna call?
Walker, the Texas lawyer.
That's right.
Can you dig it, sucker?
You're listening to the Hall of Fame. Here's Booker T and Brad Gilmore.
Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. Like I say, man, we got a whole lot to talk about here inside the Hall of Fame today. And I want to thank everybody for stepping inside today, getting your champagne wishes and caviar dreams, because we're going to start this thing off with a prediction, okay? A prediction that I made. I don't know, Brad, you should have had a clip already ready. But a prediction that I made, I don't know, maybe a month ago. All right. I said
a little bit longer than that, actually.
Month and a half, 2 maybe at the most. Okay. I said we will see Paige back inside the squared circle very, very soon. That's exactly what I said. So I don't know what company it's going to be for. I don't know, actually when it's going to happen. No one has talked to me about it. But I said we was going to see Paige inside the squared circle again very, very soon. Not nowhere in the distant future, but I'm talking about like yesterday. And there again, Brad, I was right.
You were right. And even more than that, I'll take it a step further. On June the 23rd, here was your exact quote regarding Paige. This is what you said. You said, yeah, I would advise Paige join AEW. I would love to see Paige on a big stage. If she's not going to be in the WWE, definitely I could see Paige doing some really, really good stuff there in AEW. You went on to say that'd be big for AEW to have someone like Paige walk out of that curtain. She's a big star, bona fide. Oh, and there she is. She made her debut on, or Saraya, as she will now be known, which is her real name. She made her debut over on AEW Grand Slam, at Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York City, New York. Big moment, and it looks like she's going to come back in a wrestling capacity. That's what it feels like to me. She's not coming over to walk the Kabuki Warriors down to the ring. She's coming to scrap.
Yeah, man. Like I say, Paige's departure from the square circle was unceremoniously not due to anything of her own doing or anything like that. Not really wanting to lead a business, but a medical issue. And I tell you, it was a scary, scary deal when Paige got that kick to the back, and her body was just, totally all over the place. You wondered, man, can you come back from something like that? And of course, WWE is very, very serious about neck injuries. They're very serious and very touchy. Daniel Bryan was out, for a neck injury for quite some time. I think John Morrison was out for quite some time for a neck injury as well. And that's just an area that definitely, just serious. It's just serious place to, be working around. But my thing is this, Saraya is still young enough to actually get out there and know, her body limitations. If she could still do this, just like Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan was a kid who'd say, man, I'm not going to let anyone tell me that I can't do this when I know I can. And I've told you about doctors also. One doctor say, no, you can't do this. And the next doctor tell you, you clear, you good to go. You know what I mean? So I get it. I totally understand where she's coming from. WWE doctor may have told her, one thing, but when you got one life to live, you want to do it your way. And that's just the bottom line as far as that goes.
Yeah, I mean, you could talk about Edge is another one who went out way with a neck injury and was able to make a recovery. And he's much older than Saraya. It was able to make a full recovery after some rest from the ring. You're right. The doctors can be funny. I remember hearing Tom Cruise talk, or they were telling a story about Tom Cruise doing one of the Mission Impossible movies. And he wanted to do the thing where he jumped from one building to the other. Right. And he wanted to do it, without, himself and without all this extra safety equipment or whatever. He said, so the safety tech came up to me and said, Mr. Cruz, that's not something we can do. He goes, so I fired the safety tech, and the next guy said, oh yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing going on there, right? But with Saraya, I would like to think that she's not going to do anything that's going to put her injury at risk. And if a doctor does clear her, she's smart enough to know what her body can and can't do. I trust her enough to know that. So I'm excited to see her back in a ring, because Paige in WWE, when we look at her career now, she was revolutionary. She helped really break down a lot of I don't know if I say doors, but just the preconceived notion of what we expected a WWE diva at the time to be. She even went into NXT as the anti-diva. That was like her whole shtick. There was this, kind of pale skin, black hair, black gear, punk chick from the UK, but the crowd responded to her like nobody else. And she really was able to capture that crowd. So I'm excited to see her back in the ring again. I've always been a fan.
Yeah, and great way to bring her back too. Arthur Ashe Stadium, nice crowd, big pop. You could tell she was happy, like crazy, that smile was just radiating, through the arena. So yeah, man, I'm glad to see her back. Me personally, Paige has always been one of my favorites. She's always been, that chick. So I'm just glad to see her back. Seriously.
I mean, how was it though? Because when I see her in interviews, she's got a great personality too. She can just win you over from how she is. What did you enjoy working with her on backstage?
Oh man, I'm serious. It was like a night off working with Paige. I mean, like I said, I remember getting in trouble one night because I told her to, introduce me as the OG brother from the hood.
I remember that. She got in trouble for calling you the OG brother from the hood?
She got so much heat on social media, man. People was blowing her up, and I had to actually go out and defend her and say, come on, God. I told her to say that. You know what I mean? That was all me. She wouldn't have thought of anything like that to actually say. But it was kind of funny, you know what I mean? She was like, look, I'm getting all kind of heat, for calling you an OG brother. And me personally, that's me. That's who I am.
You're like, where's the lie? Where's the lie?
So, no, man, I always had a good time working with Paige. I'm just glad to see her still, chasing that dream, man, more than anything, because that's what this thing is all about. And for her, like I say, to, have to walk away from the business, no fault of her own, because she didn't kick herself in the back. And I always talk to my students as far as, lower back, upper back near the neck, spinal area. You got to stay away from that area right there, because those injuries right there, it only takes like a half of a second for something to happen. I talk about, when, I was in TNA and Samoa Joe ran down and boom, he blasted me from the backside. Only thing I felt was my fingers tingling, my toes tingling, and I'm wondering what the hell just happened here. Just take a breath, take a breather. You can do this. You know what I mean? It was one of those moments, but it can happen in the blink of an eye. So I'm just glad, like I say, to see her back at 100%, getting ready to go out there and still continue to do her thing.
Yeah, it can be real scary. I remember you talking about the Samoa Joe thing. You've talked about the Mike Awesome thing that happened in WCW, just kind of not carelessness, but just accidents happen. I think Samoa Joe may be more of an accident. Mike Awesome just maybe, I don't know what the deal was with that, because that was
clueless.
Clueless is probably a good one.
Careless and clueless, yeah.
Careless and clueless. But are there moves that you actually just straight up would say, no, I'm not taking that?
Backdrop.
No way. Backdrop.
Backdrop. I would not take a backdrop. That was just me, because I always had back problems. I always had lower back problems. My back could like spasm out just like that for no reason, and it would stay like that sometimes for like 3 days, to where I was like crooked. My legs was on one side and my upper body would be on the other side, so I would be walking around literally like sideways, as stupid as nuts. So after, I don't know, my late 20s. Once I got to like 30, I say backdrops is something I think I need to throw out, just because of, safety purposes for the future.
How do you feel about German suplexes? Because I actually saw an article the other day on one of the sites. They were advocating for German suplexes to be taken out of the arsenal, just for, I guess, the I don't know, unpredictability of how a guy will land sometimes if you overthrow him or underthrow him, whatever. How do you feel about Germans?
Well, I just feel like with the German suplex, you have to have a certain individual doing it. Everybody can't do the German just because of their hip flex. You know what I mean? They got to be able to pop their hips. They got to be able to get the guy over properly and rotate. And a lot of guys just want to throw you over, and that's just not the way it works as far as from a safety perspective. If I'm in the ring with a guy like Scott Steiner, I feel comfortable because I know Scotty is gonna, break down. He's gonna pop his hips. He's gonna rotate, and he's gonna get me over. But even a guy like Steiner, you didn't see Steiner doing a lot of those kind of suplexes, throwing the guy over the top, just because it's not that safe. And it only takes one time, just like we saw with Big E, for it to end up in, perhaps, tragedy or, career ending.
Yeah, the suplex is always one, even when, somebody like Brock does it or what have you, you still always go, you get nervous just watching it as a viewer. The German. Is there any other move that you can think of that is kind of a one that maybe should be looked at? Because again, WWE doesn't allow, I call it the Jerry Lawler style power driver, kind of where you go backward with the guy instead of to your knees like Taker. Are there any other moves that you would suggest people just, hey guys, we can take this out just for safety reasons?
Man, not anything right offhand. I always look at moves to where anything can be done. We just got to make sure we, think about this properly as far as how we're going to get it done. But then again, you got some guys who just willing to, throw caution to the wind and go out there and just do it. Me personally, I've just never been one of those guys. But I don't know, man. Let me think on that for a second. We got to take a quick break. Stick around. You're inside the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a minute. You worth it.
For 13 years, the King of Solar Screens has been an industry leader, and we proudly use 100% American-made products. Home of the $55 any size, any color solar screen.
Well, what about arches?
$55.
What about circles?
$55.
What about rectangles?
$55.
Any size, any color, installed free. The King of Solar Screens, on time, every time.
Now, can you dig that, sucker?
Can you dig it, sucker?
Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame. We're talking about moves that personally I would not want to take or just wouldn't take. I don't know. Like I say, just a backdrop is the only move for me that I've ever talked to someone about, and I say, "Hey, man, let's throw that out. I don't like backdrops." Everything else, I've been able to go out there and pull it off safely if it's done inside that square circle.
Yeah, anything. You're not taking any like Jeff Hardy, Mick Foley kind of bumps outside the ring.
I mean, even guys, just like, say, for instance, all these guys that want to do the dives these days. And you see in a lot of instances, let's just say that, where the guy is, out there waiting to catch him, like a little baby or something like that, or a fireman trying to make a rescue or something, and I'm like, I never was the type to want to catch anybody. I would, no.
Yeah, go look up Booker T, Chris Benoit dive. Go look at that one.
Look, my thing is this. I just used to make sure I gave a guy a spot to land. All right. I'll give him a spot to slow his momentum down. Okay. But as far as me actually waiting to catch it like that, no, I'm not going to do that, because you're the one who wants to dive over the top rope. It's not my obligation to catch you. You know what I mean? If you hit me, that's one thing, but it's not my obligation to catch you. And that's what I see with a lot of guys these days. It's like, we're setting up to, do, a spot here. And me personally, I didn't look at that as a spot. I looked at that as a maneuver. And the guy that was doing it was the guy that was pulling it off. He was the one that had to make it work.
Yeah, the dive to the outside I've seen go horribly wrong. And honestly, part of me, like, okay, when Taker would do it, when Taker would do the dive over the top rope, back when he was really agile and would never miss it, that was cool. It was like, oh my God, I never thought I'd see that. You know, the Undertaker, 7 foot, he's going over the top rope. But most guys, they go through like right over the second rope, and everybody does it. You see it 3 or 4 times a week throughout their shows, right? You see it maybe once on Raw, once on NXT, 18 times on Dynamite, and then once, on SmackDown. And it to me, it just wears off after a while. And half the time, it looks like a diving push. You know what I mean? The guy just goes through and pushes the other guy and then kind of lands on his feet or what have you. I don't really understand, like in a fight, when would we do this?
Well, wrestling is to be embellished. Okay.
It is to be embellished.
It's just like, when you're in a bar fight, you're not going to jump up on the bar and drop an elbow on the guy. That's just not, it's not, the norm. But if you're in a wrestling match, you might go up to the top and drop an elbow on the guy. It's wrestling. It's to be embellished. I get it.
I look at it like a boxing match, though. Like the boxing, like if we look at the psychology of a boxing fight, no one's ever, Balboa didn't jump, outside the ring on Apollo Creed, right? He didn't do a dive after the 7th round. You know what I'm saying? Like if we're looking at combat, I don't understand why. And here's the thing: if 1 or 2 people want to do it, whatever, but shouldn't that be a thing like where everybody? It's like Booker does the axe kick. That's Booker's, right? It's almost like a finish. You have your signature moves, right? Taker does the old school. He walks on the top rope. That's his thing. Steve Austin does the Thez press. Can't one person on the roster be the dive guy? Like, we'll give that to the Usos.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it used to be. It's not like that anymore. I mean, wrestling has changed, and we got to be able to evolve with it. I get that. I understand that. And with wrestling today, guys doing dives, it's the norm. Guys going out there and, kicking out of, a finisher that normally, like just say, for instance, back in the day, a DDT. It's the norm.
Correct.
I mean, it's the norm now. So if you don't, get with the program, you could end up, having a sour taste in your mouth watching the show. You know what I mean? Because it's going to be a whole lot of that, and you got to try to figure out how to, make it work for you. Now, I try to talk to, like these young kids and say, hey, I'm old school, but I'm a hybrid as well. I watch you guys, and I understand you guys want to go out there and get your stuff in and do what you do, but I look at the match, that Chris Jericho had last week with Cesaro, okay? And they did all of the same stuff. They did the dives, they did everything. But all of it had cut. They did the strong style, you know what I mean? Where the guys went back and forth, no sell. They did everything. But you can do that if you put it in context and still try to make the fans understand what the story is. I understood that story from the beginning to the end. The old guy, Chris Jericho, is finna go out here and I'm gonna hang as much as I possibly can. I can't hang with you from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint, I'm gonna show you just how good I really am. So for me, that's the story that I saw. That's the story that I watched. And at the end of it, when Chris won, it was believable enough to. Just like, say, for instance, the one spot on the top rope where Cesaro's
Claudio
Castagnoli was getting ready to powerbomb him.
Yeah.
And Chris was getting ready to hurricane run him, but he blocked it. And then brought him up where it looked like he was going to powerbomb, but Chris double counted him. And I go, that's some good stuff right there, man.
It was a really sweet spot.
It was just psychology 101. It made everything mean something, everything that they did. It made that match believable. At the end of the day, the old guy overcame the younger. So that's the way I try to look at stuff and still try to make it work. Yeah, for these young guys today that's going out there and doing it. If they watch that, they can learn a whole lot from it.
Well, Jericho's I think we've talked about him on the show and how you just described yourself. He's a hybrid too, right? He's a guy who knows how to do the old school stuff, but knows kind of how to intersplice some of what the newer generation likes. It speaks to his longevity. He did at AEW Grand Slam win The Ring of Honor World Championship. It's a sentence I never thought that I would say, that Chris Jericho in 2022 is the Ring of Honor World Champion. I thought it was a great call. It was a great call because there's so many story elements you can do, especially with Daniel Garcia element of everything, and giving Claudio more of an actual story, because he's been defending the title a bunch, but defending the title doesn't really mean anything if there's not a story attached to it. And now Jericho cheats him out of it at the stadium show. We got some meat on the bone. What did you think of Chris Jericho being what do you think of him being an 8-time world champion, but also the Ring of Honor world champion?
I think it's smart trying to put some light on that Ring of Honor title, that Ring of Honor brand. I don't know what the Ring of Honor brand is anymore, other than it being, a part of AEW now, as far as, having championship matches on AEW. I haven't heard about any Ring of Honor shows.
I don't think there are any.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So, but if you're trying to keep that name alive, that Ring of Honor name alive, and to have the title on someone like Chris Jericho, I think it does that. I think it's important to if you plan on doing something with that brand, down the road, it's important to keep that brand alive. I always thought it was important to keep that WCW brand, alive, in case you wanted to do something with it. Just because, it's business, it's good business, more than anything. But I see the upside of the title being on Chris Jericho.
Yeah, I think it makes total sense. It makes total sense for him. And, like you said, keeping a brand name alive does mean a lot. It is interesting that WWE, after the invasion, just was like, yeah, this WCW thing, we don't know what to do. Just put it in the archives. It feels like you could have done something, right? I mean, they brought ECW back. It feels like you could have made your developmental, if you wanted to make your developmental called WCW to get it a TV deal. I don't know, something.
I don't know, man. I always thought, it was a lot of value in that WCW name, but there again, there was a lot of players that were WCW guys that all those guys would have got fired. I mean, to be honest, I'm serious. I mean, if it was me and it was, I was, winning the war, a lot of those WCW guys would have got fired. I'm serious. I mean, I'm just speaking straight up, because a lot of them had long money contracts, and that's the reason why they would have got fired. Not, their contracts wouldn't have been renewed. Let's just say that they would have got that WCW money, and that would have been it. It wouldn't have been no buyouts. It wouldn't have been any of that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So I don't know, but I always thought, keeping that name brand alive, especially in the beginning, I thought it could have meant something. But it was all about the war. It was all about winning. It was all about placing that flag down, in that dirt, and say, hey, we won. This is it. You guys can, call it a wrap.
Yeah, and that's what they did. They made a lot of money off that library. But going back real quick before we have to go to break here in a couple minutes, Chris Jericho, Ring of Honor World Champion. Where do you see like Ring of Honor going? Like, what would be the play? Because you have all these guys under contract, you have all these championships. To me, there's too many titles. I've talked about this before on the show. With Jericho being the Ring of Honor World Champion, do you think that this is a strategic move from Tony Khan and clan in order to try to finagle some sort of television deal for Ring of Honor? Because I hear that's what's been holding them up is, hey, there's no TV show. No one's really interested in the Ring of Honor television show. Does the Ring of Honor champion being Chris Jericho help you get closer to that? Could that be part of the play?
I don't think so, to be honest. I mean, I could be wrong. I could be 100% wrong, but I think it would really be hard for Tony Khan to run AEW, Dynamite, Rampage, and a totally different organization in ROH, house shows, as well as, like you said, TV, as well as having a strong enough roster to be able to create different storylines, opposed to the storylines that you're creating on AEW, Rampage, Dynamite. It would blow his freaking mind. I mean, his stack would just just blow off. Trying to think about 52 weeks out of the year for 3 different shows, and I don't know how many guys under contract. God, can you imagine that?
It'd be a gargantuan task for any man. I just don't know what you do though what do you do with the brand? Like if the plan isn't to have a show, like what do you do?
Say the brand is for me personally, the brand will be scrapped and the archive would be used for AEW promo packages and whatnot, but as far as trying to create an RH brand to where you're competing against Dynamite as well as Rampage. I just think you just putting a whole lot on your plate there, and I just don't think it's possible to do that. To be honest,
I guess there's a reason Ring of Honor went under to begin with, right? I mean, there was lack of fan interest in the product. They weren't able to turn a profit because they were never able to really grow to that next level. Ring of Honor started in 2002, same time as TNA Wrestling did, right after WCW went under. And I don't think that they ever really got to where they were running huge buildings. I know they did a couple of shows. I think they did one at MSG, right? Didn't they do an MSG?
I mean, they had a lot of buzz because you had a lot of guys that came out of ROH that became WWE superstars. You know what I mean? So I think
Punk, Brian, Joe, Seth Rollins.
It had a lot of buzz actually. And the thing is, one thing about having a wrestling company and trying to make it to that next level, so many moving parts. And when you got a company like AEW and you got a company like, WWE, and you got stars being plucked away from your company month after month after month, and you try to, reestablish guys and put guys in. It's like moving pieces, going, nonstop. It's so freaking hard to actually be able to create something from that system. It's just like reality of wrestling. That's why I've never tried to think about moving to that next level, because, every time we get I know we got to take a break. Every time we get a really good talent, their asses be going quick. Stick around. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a minute.
What the indie world meant to me. It was kind of like when you were an artist and you start, like for example a comedian, you start playing the small clubs. If you're a band, the same thing, you start playing the small clubs, you kind of learn your repertoire, you learn how different audiences react. There's like maybe more hostile environment, and it's way more personal because there's less people there, there's less of like things around, it's just you and the audience, and I feel that's when you really learn your craft, that's when you learn how to adapt, how to change, how to find something that works. So to me, it's kind of the foundation to everything I do. And that's Big E. And that's his foundation to everything he does.
Can you dig it, sucker?
You're listening to the Hall of Fame. Here's Booker T and Brad Gilmore.
Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. We're just talking everything sports and entertainment. So, guys, you got any super chats? Make sure you hit us up if you got any questions. But I don't know, Brad. Where you want to go next?
I am trying to pull up our super chats here. Our chat seems to be having a little bug in it. I want to say this though before we do move on from anything else AEW, because there is a new AEW World Champion. That is Jon Moxley. Seems like just Jon Moxley is like rain here in Houston. Wait about a week, it's gonna happen. You know what I mean? He's gonna be the champion. They're gonna put the belt on him because he's been pretty much their MVP. Honestly, when I look at AEW and I think of name one or two guys who've been the MVP of that brand, I would say Chris Jericho and I'd say Jon Moxley. They've been the MVPs for AEW. They're tried and true. You could always go back to them. They're always going to put out, quality. They're always going to connect with the fans, and they're kind of the break glass in case of emergency. But I will say this: last Wednesday's show, Grand Slam, was much needed for AEW. I think that show was very good. It had a very positive reaction. Over a million people watched the show, and it's kind of gotten them back on track. I will say these last few weeks, there was all the turmoil, there was all the issues coming out of the press conference, and I think I'm not saying they put it behind them, but they've been able to move forward, and that was a really important show to kind of galvanize the audience again, dispel all the internet gossip of they're going under, and kind of get them back on the right track. I don't know if you agree with that, but I felt like that was a course correct of a show.
You know what? You know what it showed more than anything? That one monkey don't stop, no show.
A lesson you learned a long time ago, right? In the early days.
That's what that proved to me, man. It proved that one monkey don't stop, no show. Those fans were still over the top excited for what they were getting from the guys who were there putting in the work. That's what I'm talking about. All of this me, you know, that has been going on in that company. It can't work that way. It cannot work that way. One thing about this business, we always worked, you know, to make everything, you know, better for the company at the end of the day. Our champion, I can't remember one time that I've had conflict with our champion. Okay, you know, I've never had you know, a problem, you know, with the champion being the champion per se. Man, why this guy's the champion? You know, it was never like that. It was always, well, Rey Mysterio's the champion. Okay, let's see exactly what we can do to make him better. Let's see if we can push him to the moon. You know, that's the way it always, you know, worked. Even, you know, just say, for instance, in our society, I know it's not like this now, but it always had been like that for me. The Democrats and the Republicans, they can fight all year long for the next 4 years, you know, talking about, you know, the presidency. And I might not be for, you know, per se one side or the other. But when that one side do win, I got to get behind him. I got to back him. He's our president. And that's the way the world used to work in our lives as well as professional wrestling. But now it seems like it's a little bit different in certain aspects. And I just don't think it could work like that. You saw what pulling together at the same pace at the same time, what it got you, what it could get you. And that was a show that those guys pulled off on Wednesday night. It was a good show. You know, the surprises, you know, with Saraya, that's good stuff. That's wrestling for me. And when you can do that, you got a damn good chance of, you know, going out there and making those fans think about going back and buy a ticket, you know, for the next time you guys come back. That's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Yeah, wow, what a great little notion you had there. If we all did used to galvanize behind the guy, right? Like if you think about an NFL team, not everybody probably gets along with the quarterback. And we've heard stories of the wide receivers and the quarterbacks. They don't get along. The offensive line doesn't like them, though. Whatever. The halfback, the running back, whatever. But when they suit up and they go out there for game time, you better believe that quarterback and that wide receiver, they are after the same thing. And they're all going to get behind whatever the QB calls. Whatever play. If they call the audible, they're listening to the quarterback. That's our guy. We're going to listen to what he has to say. That is a really fascinating notion that you hit on there, but you're right. They just put on a wrestling show, and they've been able to go ahead.
But one thing, do you think anybody? After you watched that show, you watched it, right?
I watched it.
I didn't watch all of it.
I watched it all.
Just tell me this: did you miss anybody?
Hell no.
That's my point. You know, that goes to show you. As far as how big of a star you are and how big of a star you might really think you are. You know what I mean? Because I don't think anybody missed anybody at the end of, you know, that night. And that's what these guys need to understand as far as, you know, they think they're, you know, a lot of people think they're big stars and whatnot. For me, I always looked at this thing as a job. I'm going to work. And I'm going to get paid for the work that I do, and I'm going to go home and I'm going to do it again the next time. And when guys can think that way, this thing could really, really be beautiful. But when you got one guy thinking that you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys thinking that it's about them, we got a problem.
You're going to lose. And the thing is, they've done a great job also of positioning people to be the draws. I mean, like MJF on Wednesday at Grand Slam, MJF got one of the loudest ovations I've heard in quite some time. In that AEW atmosphere. And I think that he's going to be so massive, man. I can't believe he's only 25 years old, 26 years old. I don't know if you saw his interviews that he's been doing this week. He even went on with Ariel Helwani. And he's just such a throwback kind of guy. Not one time did he break character. Not one time did he go, I'm going to break kayfabe for a second, brother, and I'm going to, tell you about what's going to happen. He made it all a part of everything that happened. Anything that anybody asked him, he made it a part of it. All brought back to him. He's the reason for everything. He's the center of attention. He's the reason the ratings are up. He's the reason everything's going on. And I think MJF is doing a hell of a job right now without wrestling. And he even said this. He said this, and I bet you it's not even a character thing. He said, "I only wrestle when I have to." He said, "Because I'm a draw whether I'm wrestling or not."
Well, the thing is, you should only wrestle when you have to. I'm serious. I never thought about it. Was like you could go back and remember the quote. You go back and watch the quote when we were in the arena, and I didn't know we wasn't. It was a microphone around. I didn't know it wasn't. We didn't know we were being taped, and we were talking about the Elimination Chamber. And I don't know if you remember what RVD said. RVD said, "Man, I look at this structure, and I'm thinking about how many, creative moves I could do, what kind of stunts I can pull off." And what I said is somebody about to get effed up in this damn cage. That's what's about to happen. I wanted no parts of going out there and doing anything spectacular. But that's the difference. That's the nature of the beast. It's the nature of the beast. But for me, if I didn't have to do it, if I did not have to be in that match, I would not have been in it. If my name wouldn't have been called to be in that match, I wouldn't have raised my hand and say I want to be in the Elimination Chamber. I would not have done that. So I get exactly where he's coming from as far as, less is more. The less they see you out, it's like one of those things to where when I say, I tell my students, I say, when you come to the arena, try to get there early and try to make sure none of the fans see you before you got to come out of that curtain. I say, because if they do, that pop, that the fan that saw you, they're not going to have that same feeling just because they saw you earlier. And if they shook your hand or took a photo with you earlier, they're definitely not. They got what they want. They might leave a building. You know what I mean? So always give them as less as you possibly can, and that's that kid MJF. Give him a lot of credit.
Yeah. He's a funny guy, man. But going back to the Elimination Chamber, do you get a little pay bump for that match? Do we get a little extra on the check?
Pay-per-views always got extra scratch, man.
But do you get extra?
No, you just got your extra. That's it. So you can forget about getting any extra. You get what's allotted to you, but it's lot at the pay-per-view. You know what I mean? So
did you ever like complain about a payoff? Like I hear some guys say, "Oh, I went to Vince and I said, this is ridiculous."
I never once complained about a payoff. I guess because I'm from the street, from the ghetto, and I know a good thing when you got it. I've always made good money. I've always made good enough money so I did not have to go in and complain about it. I was always damn happy when I saw a check with them zeros behind it, man. And just think about it for a second. Just think about it. If you got a check for $50,000, $100,000, and somebody said, "Man, you should have got, more than that." Of course, I could have got more than that. But how many times have you worked for 20 minutes and got $100,000 or $500,000?
Not one time in my life.
Exactly my point. Stick around. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a minute.
Get this thing kicked off right now with a bang in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, my brother, that's the fire. Can you dig it, sucker?
You're listening to the Hall of Fame. Here's Booker T and Brad Gilmore.
Welcome inside the Hall of Fame. I'm Booker T, 6-time world champ, 2-time Hall of Fame. I got my man Brad Gilmore with me, bringing it to you live from ESPN 97.5, 92.5. We got some super chats, man. Let's get to it, man.
We do. We have several super chats. Want to appreciate everybody for sending it in. It starts with Mike Mayfield, who says, what's match of the year so far for you, Book and Brad? Ooh.
Sheamus and Gunther.
Sheamus and Gunther at Clash of the Castle. Okay.
Yeah.
Why is that your match of the year so far?
Two grown men, man, going out there going fisticuffs, man. I'm talking about it was no frills, anything like that. It was as real as you possibly can get as far as this game goes. You can't fake it a lot of times. And when you're in there with Gunther, you can't fake it, bro. You just got to take it and go with it. But when you're in there with someone like Sheamus who can bring it back, that's a recipe right there for something great.
Man, that's a great match. I'm trying to think of like what pops to my mind first. I'll just go off what just comes to my mind. I love Brock and Roman at SummerSlam because it had a little bit of everything. It had the shock and all. It's not a straight up wrestling match, but I enjoyed the moment of it. Becky and Bianca at WrestleMania. Oh my gosh, that was just a barn burner from top to bottom. Kevin Owens, anything Kevin Owens has been in this year has been a match of the year for me. But him and Steve Austin. What about him and Steve Austin? Can we put that up there as an honorable mention? I need to think about the actual match of the year because I can't think of one that just pops off the chart at me right this second. So I'll come back to that one. I'll come back to that. We still got some time left.
I just told you mine.
You don't think anything's going to top that?
Well, it's a candidate.
Oh, wait a minute. I know. I think it was that Money in the Bank. Street Profits Usos.
Yeah, that was good. That was
a great one.
What do you think Street Profits going from here?
I don't know. I don't know what they're doing right now.
I'm worried about those guys.
Why are you worried? Why are you worried?
I'm worried about them. Like when Dusty Rose said back in the day, I'm worried about Sapphire, man. She's never done anything like this before. You know what I mean? So now, I'm just, because I see progress in the Street Profits, right? I see these guys making tremendous progress, but then sometimes I see backward steps at the same time, and I just wonder, where these guys are going to land more than anything. Tag team, singles, what? That's why I say that. I'm not, I'm not worried in the sense to where these guys not going to be with the company. I'm just talking about them being together as a tag team.
You don't want to see them over yet. Like you don't want their run to be over yet.
Well, sometimes I think I'd say, man, I don't think this run should be over. But then sometimes I see it and I go, well, maybe it should be.
Where are you sitting right now?
I'm kind of in the middle. I'm kind of in the middle.
I understand why they didn't beat the Usos. Like I get it.
What about? Well, they just had another loss. To the Battling Brawlers. They just lost last week.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like that so much. I understood why they lost that feud to the Usos. I really think, though, there was so much heat behind, like momentum. When I say heat, I mean like momentum behind them. They should have changed the titles there. And if you don't, remember they were kind of angling for a breakup. Like there were some like moments with Montez and Angie. Yeah. And then they kind of dropped that. I think that may have been during the transition from one regime to another. I don't think their run's over yet. I really think that they should be an important part of that tag team division for a little while, especially if you're trying to build up the division. Because if you get rid of them, like what teams do you have?
I get it. I mean, I totally understand, but sometimes, things can get hot. One guy get, the rocket, next thing send them straight to the moon. That's just part of the game. It's always been that way. But like I say, I just wonder, especially after last week, as well as watching the two work together. Right now, Angie's on fire. I must say, I got to give Angie props, man. Angie has been off the charts ever since we had a little talk. And the brother is going out there just bringing the noise, I must say. And there again, even if the team was to break up, I think both of those guys would be okay. No doubt.
Oh, I think there'd be a spot for both of them. I don't think that should even be in the question anymore. I think at one point it was a question. I don't think now. But Montez, he keeps putting on size like that, man. If I'm Angelo Dawkins, I'm saying, hey, bro, you want to go hit up the Whataburger while we're in the Texas loop? You want to go by Wendy's or something? Because you're getting a little too jacked, a little too fast.
Hey, man, that should just be motivation. That's all it should be. It should just be motivation, letting you know, man, I might have to get that 3:00 in the morning session and don't tell nobody. You know what I mean? As well
that's the Booker T trick.
Oh, brother, I'm telling you, man, I'd be working with nobody. When everybody's asleep, I was working. You know what I mean? I didn't want anybody to know that I ever worked out a day in my life. I just look like this. Man, I don't work out. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? So playing games, tricks of the trade, man. Seriously.
We have another super chat here as I try to pull it up. This is from our man Kelly Toenail, who said big ups to HBK for vacating Solo Sikoa's title. I thought he only got it because of the bloodline. Now, if we could get Triple H to do the same with at least one belt, there you see the people advocating for there to be two world champions again. Something that I know that you've never.
What were you guys when I said this wasn't a great
We
idea?
weren't with you at that time.
I know it. I'm just saying, what were you guys when I was telling you that this was not that great of an idea? I needed somebody to support me when I was talking to you, Brad. You was making all kind of, excuses to why, my idea was just wrong, why it was a bad idea. But now it seems that everybody is smelling the tea leaves. So I get it, man. I get it. I was right again.
See, I almost like don't want to even see, but here's the thing. That's why I keep it honest. You know what I mean? If I feel like I've changed my mind, I'm gonna say it. I'm not gonna just defend my point to the grave.
That's a good thing. You know what? That's a great thing. You know what? I like people like that just don't, just believe anything. Just go with anything. Remember Johnny Cochran said that stretches the credulity.
It sounds like something he would say. I don't even know what that means.
I had to look it up. You know what I mean? It means that you take at face value something that somebody say, whether you know it or not.
There you go.
Whether you know it or not to be true.
You know what I hate when people do is like when you're like, for instance, you're talking about some subject, John Stevens, right? John Stevens, and you're like, oh yeah, I know John real well. It's like, you don't know John Stevens. Why are you pretending like you know John?
I do that all the time.
Oh yeah, I work with him.
I might have did that today.
I think we worked in Atlanta TV together, right? I think I put him over, right?
People come to me all the time, and you still say, yeah, I know him. Yeah, I don't know. Damn thing. Let's keep it rolling, man.
I will be surprised though. I mean, you probably wouldn't be surprised, and people out there would be surprised to know that since Book and I have been doing this radio show, and we're kind of associated with one another. I've met a lot of your relatives, Book. A lot of people just all of a sudden are like, oh, that's my uncle. Yeah. I'm like, oh yeah,
yeah.
Really? Whose brother? Whose brother? Who you relate? How are you the uncle?
On what side?
What side? Twice removed? Once removed? Because I don't know who the hell you are.
I've met a lot of my relatives since I've been in this business. I was in New York, and the guy said he grew up in the same neighborhood I did.
I bet you hit with I bet you hit you with this. Robbie, Big Bob.
I swear, man. He said he grew up in the same neighborhood across 110th Street. Oh my God, man.
What do you say to that guy? What do you say to him?
Hey, bro, I just say, man, it was a hell of a time back then.
It was great times back in there.
You just got to go with it, man. You don't want to bust nobody's bubble or anything like that and tell them, man, you lied. You don't know me. I'm from Texas. You don't want to do that. So you just go with it, man, and let them feel happy for a minute.
Give them their moment, right?
Yeah.
Let them have their moment. Let them have their moment.
I know
my God.
We got to take a break. I know
we do have to take a break.
We probably got more super chats, but stick around, guys. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in 1 minute.
And if that wasn't enough, you took me on that vacation just to cover it all up.
You wanted to go on that vacation. You wanted to go on that vacation for years.
And you took me just to hide your antics. What kind of person does that?
What of it?
You know what? But I have the answer. Oh, yeah. We are going to choose teams and wrestle for control of this company. Team Booker versus Team Sharmell.
Team Booker versus Team Sharmell.
Yeah.
My team will crush your team any day.
In your
the hell
dreams.
You talking about?
In your
I got gas for every guy in this company. I own them. They work for me. And you know what? You know what? If you want that, if you really want that,
spit it out.
You got it.
Good.
And I tell you what, I'm gonna fire all y'all asses. All right? Soon as I win, Sam, your ass is out. Let's go, Gaspar.
I am so sorry. No one who is in charge of a company should speak like that. That's why, board, I'm so thankful I have your support.
Can you dig it, sucker?
You're listening to the Hall of Fame. Here's Booker T and Brad Gilmore.
At the Hall of Fame. Oh, welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. I got started a little quick there. I was thinking about your guys. Sam, his ass did get fired. I just wanted y'all to know that. You know what I mean?
But you lost.
Still got a little stroke though. I still know people. You know what I mean? So Sam is out.
Sam's gone.
I'm serious, man. Yeah, let's keep it rolling.
This is another super chat here from our good friend, Mr. Cali Toenail. Cali Toenail says, there should be a ban on using moves that's finishers or signatures. The locker room couldn't wait for HBK to retire. I see Sweet Chin Music 50 times in a row, and they just call it a super kick. Shaking my head. We were just talking about that.
No, it definitely takes away. Guys don't really have to think a whole lot as far as how can I really be creative here. Let's just go out and do this. You know what I mean? He's not around anymore. Let's just go out and do it. Like I was just talking about the DDT, guys just kicking out of the DDT like, it's just a regular move. It totally waters down, it waters down everything in the end. For the moment, it's great. For the fans, that's getting it, is awesome. But the one thing I've always thought about, and what I think these young guys may want to think about and focus on, is the guys that's going to be the guy that's going to be working behind you. Okay, I've always known how to go out and get myself over without killing the guys that's behind me. Those guys got to go out there and they got to make those fans, feel a certain way. And you might say, well, that's their job. Go out, they got to top this. I get that. I used to be that same guy who would go out there and work and then come in the back and say, go out there and top that. And not one time did I do a dive. Not one time did I do anybody's finisher or anything like that. It was all psychology based to try to make, those fans feel a certain way, as well as those guys watching. I remember one time on a house show, I told the guys, I'm going to go out in this match and I'm not going to throw one punch. And everybody was at the curtain watching me to see if I could go through, 15, 20 minutes without throwing a punch and still making the fans feel something. And I remember at the end of that match, I looked back at towards the curtain and I see all of the boys there and I threw that one punch. Finally, bang, you know what I mean? Just to show them that I could get through a match without throwing one punch and still make it believable for those fans that's watching it and entertaining at the same time, as well, without killing those guys that's going to come behind me. Those guys got to go out there and work extra hard. I might have been the third match on the card. It might have been 12 matches on the card that night. So I got to think about that guy that's working in the main event. So that's just my word of advice for the young guys out there that's thinking about, making it to that next level. It's one thing, let me say this. I work with a lot of guys, throughout my career. And I used to always say, I'm going to go out here and get this guy a contract tonight. You know what I mean? I remember talking to Chris Jericho. Chris, I'm going to go get this kid a contract. And I text Chris and I said, man, you still got it after this match you had with Castagnoli. And he said, I had to go out there and get that kid a contract. So that is what is truly all about in this game.
You got to get a contract.
I swear, man. He texted me back, man. I had to get the kid a contract. And I was like, awesome, man. Awesome work.
You know what? You hit on something that I've always found interesting, because a lot of the times it feels like the shows are booked. And this is a WWE thing and AEW thing, in my perspective. Is like sometimes the shows are booked backward, right? Where they start off real hot, and then by the time the main event comes, you've seen it, you've seen everything, and you're tired. I've been to a lot of live wrestling shows, and sometimes by the time the main event goes, which is the reason I came to see the show, by the time it gets there, I'm gassed. Like I can't even focus on the match. Because I've seen it all. The spectacle's gone.
I get it. It's hard. It really is hard because now fans want that gratification, man. They want it, and they want it from every match. Every guy got to go out there and just like, say, for instance, it's SummerSlam, but they got to go out and have a WrestleMania match. You know what I mean? And it's like it's the staggering of the show as well sometimes, as far as trying to create, that buzz to get to the main event so those guys could go out there and give, that different feel. But then again, just say, for instance, you got guys that go out there and let's just think about this for a second. And you saw it. You saw it right here in Houston, WrestleMania here in Houston, where, man, it was a plethora of talent on that card. Those guys went out there and they did everything in the book that night. And then Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker had to go. And they went out and they told a totally different story than everybody else did. Now, that story started out at a snail's pace. And at the end of that match, if you go back and look at it, you go back and revisit that. Good God, those guys had those fans right in the palm of their hand. And it took a whole lot of knowledge to be able to do that after the fans had saw everything on that card that night.
That's true. I mean, the greats can figure out how to still pull it off, but
the greats can figure it out. That's my point.
Well, go out there though and get that man a contract. Mike Mayfield,
that kid a contract.
Get that kid a contract. Mike Mayfield says Celtics are done with the coach messing around. Yeah, I heard about that. Celtics suspended their head coach because he had a relationship with a female staffer.
It's crazy, man. These guys, man, I don't know, man. Women will make you lose your damn mind in a heartbeat. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I've always been the type to be in control. I've always been the type to make sure business and pleasure stay separated. And people go, well, you married Charmel. Wasn't she a Nitro girl? Well, let me tell you something. I hated Charmel.
And when did that stop? That's a pretty strong emotion.
I wouldn't necessarily say I hated Charmel, but I did not speak to Charmel, at all, for a very, very long time in the company. And then I think I remember having a conversation with Charmel and some of the Nitro girls. I remember we were in Vegas, and I said, "Man, I've been married once, man. I don't think I'm marrying another black woman ever."
You told that to Charmel?
I think I did, and I think that might have been the challenge, for her. Like, I'm gonna show him he gonna marry one, and I'm the one. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like I was looking for love or anything when I was performing. I was always looking to take care of business. But sometimes you can just get caught up. I can get that too.
Well, I mean, look, I understand separating business and pleasure, but so long as it's a consensual thing, I guess, like, in an organization, you have to think about power dynamics, and, he's the head coach. So obviously, that kind of carries a certain amount of power and what have you. So that's probably a little bit inappropriate.
Definitely a bad position,
Definitely a bad position. But, like if two people want to have a consensual relationship.
Yeah, I get it. But
it's hard to say no, they can't.
It's like they say, it's plenty of fish in the sea. You should be able to go find something outside of, if you think that, because fraternizing with employees, a lot of times it's in the contract.
Sure.
That you can't do that.
It can't be in any wrestling contract. I'll tell you that much. Because if that's the case, there's all kinds of contract tampering going on.
I'm just saying. I mean, that's the rules in a lot of places, man. Where you get caught up like that, it's over. You know what I mean? It could mess your livelihood up. So I just don't understand why people put themselves in position for something like that to happen to them. Next thing you know, there, because today you can't do anything without someone capturing it through video, audio, or something. You know what I mean? You're gonna get caught. There's no way. It's no way you're gonna be able to get away with crimes, whether they're high crimes or low crimes today, because it's just so many ways to get caught.
Yeah, no, and and someone's gonna talk Telephone,
said no.
telegram, teleperson. You know what I mean?
Yeah, seriously.
We have another one here. This is from Baddest Son, who says, "Have you seen Jason Sensation impersonating you?"
No, I haven't.
I saw it. It's awful. It's so bad. It's like not even close.
Who is
Somebody
Jason
sent it to me.
Sensation? Who is
Jason Sensation was a guy back in the 90s. They brought into WWE. If you remember the time that DX did the parody of the Nation, he was the guy who played Owen Hart. And he actually does some really good impressions. Like some of them he's right on. And he normally does wrestlers. Some of them he kills it. But the one of you is awful.
I don't know who this guy is. I'm gonna have to check it out. I'm gonna have to check him out.
He was on
Is he a comedian?
he's a comic, yeah. He was
Okay.
on what's the guy's name? Renee Dupree's podcast.
Oh, don't nobody watch that. Stick around, guys. You know, you in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back. Can you dig it, sucker?
You're listening to the Hall of Fame. Here's Booker T and Brad Gilmore.
Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. I looked him up. He's not that good at all.
Did you watch his impression of you?
Yeah, he wasn't that great at all, man.
It sucked, didn't it?
It wasn't me. I don't know why people want to impersonate me anyway. And when I do hear impersonations, I'm like, man, I don't sound like that. I don't talk like that. You know, so I don't get them.
You have a distinct voice. Like you do have a distinct voice. Because remember on the UFC press conference, people in the comments, they just knew it was you from your voice. Like you have a distinct voice. I haven't heard a great impression of you. And that one was sent to me by somebody. And they're like, didn't they nail it? And I'm like, literally, I think my exact words was, it sounds nothing like him.
You know what? I don't think anybody can nail my voice because I don't even know what I sound like half the time. I'm serious. I hate listening to my voice, and I know it's definitely recognizable. I mean, sometimes people they hear me talking and don't even see my face, and they turn their head and go, I thought that was Booker T, that type of stuff. You know what I mean? So I get it. But he was not that good at all.
No, he sucked. This is from Kid who says, do you get mad when someone does the scissor kick?
I don't get mad when I see someone do the scissor kick. I just wish someone could do it right. That's all I wish. I haven't seen anybody do the scissor kick while I go, man, that was sweet. You know what I mean? Alicia Fox, she used to do one. It was pretty good. She used to get a lot of extension on hers. But I'm still looking for someone to, bring the noise like I did, man. I had 2 or 3 different variations of dropping that scissor kick. So I'm just looking for someone to go out there and just lay it in. That's what I did.
Yeah, ask a lot of the people you worked. I'm sure they would tell you.
Renee Dupree.
Papa Wheelie says, do you think AEW ruined Soraya's debut by having it on free TV, Booker T?
No, I don't think so. Not at all. I think you want to have the biggest audience you possibly can for something like that. And I think it was a great night for, Saraya to make her debut. And we talked about this before as far as AEW not having like pay-per-views on a regular, like, WWE, anything like that. So they would have had to wait, and then, would it have been a bigger moment? Would it have had more eyes on it? I don't think so. You know what I mean? So I think they made the right call on that.
I do too. I think it was a great call. Grind Time C44 says, love or hate, you gotta respect the bloodline.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. People can say what they want to say about what's going on, with Roman. And the thing is, maybe the people that's not liking what's going on with the bloodline is just may not be fans of Roman, but the people that's really following the storylines, it's a great story for me because I remember back in the day, this lady, she used to dress up. She had fur coats, diamonds, pearls, whatnot. And she used to show up at every one of Muhammad Ali fights, every one of them. And she told Muhammad Ali that she showed up at every one of his fights. And Muhammad Ali said, I just want to thank you for showing up for every one of my fights, to see me go out there and do my thing. She said, I just show up to see your ass get beat. That's the only reason, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter. She showed up. She bought a ticket, and probably that ticket was probably pretty high, around first 3 rows or something like that. So my thing is, when you got people feeling that way right there, they can't wait for this bloodline to get destroyed. That's the feeling that you want people to have. So I get it. I understand it 100%.
Grind Time also says Bloodline won all the gold, down since day one ish. Yeah, I mean Bloodline's awesome. Bloodline's awesome. Yeah, you want that attraction. It made me laugh though. In Logan Paul and Roman Reigns had that interview, and he was reading through the names of the Bloodline. Right, like you had Yokozuna, you have The Rock, High Chief Peter Maivia, you had Rashiki. It's like I think you missed that. You missed a couple letters on that one, my man. Rashiki.
You know what I'm talking about.
Rashiki, man. Everyone's favorite.
God.
Everybody loves Rashiki.
We know what he was talking about, okay? Oh my God, Rashiki. Oh my God.
It was pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was pretty funny. And
we got to get out of here in a minute, man.
We do. Okay, we do. So this is our last super chat we have right now. A kid said, "Do you have any favorite indie company outside of reality of wrestling?"
Like what Dave Marquez is doing up in California. I went up and watched those guys work and do one of the shows, and they really try to keep wrestling. Try to give the young guys a chance to go out there and shine. His company is not quite like my company as far as having a lot of homegrown talent, a lot of talent come in from around the way, different areas and whatnot. And but at the end of the day, he puts on a really really good show, and it's a quality show from a lighting perspective, camera perspective, as well as the action perspective. So I would say Championship Wrestling Hollywood.
Championship Wrestling from Hollywood's a great one. We had a couple of our guys go down there before. They do a good job. I don't know if they're not a lot of other and I don't want to sound, self-aggrandizing when I say this, but there's not a lot out there that have a production behind them like Reality Wrestling or Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, do and put on weekly television shows. There's not a lot out there. So it would be hard for me to say because I don't make the towns. You know what I mean? I don't make the towns. That'd be a question for some of our reality wrestling stars, Yeah. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Speaking of, make sure y'all check out Reality Wrestling coming up second weekend of October. I think it's October the 8th is our next show, I believe. We're getting closer to the final show of the year, which is, of course, Christmas Chaos book. And, I'm hearing rumors. I'm hearing rumors about what we might see. I don't know. I know you say you scratched every itch, but I'm hearing that, you might be thinking about, mixing it up again.
Well, my knee's feeling real good right now. That PRP therapy kicked in. Like I say, played golf today. And the one thing I pretty much gauge things is after I play around the golf, how I feel. And I'm gonna tell you, I finished up today. The rest of my body broke down, but my knees felt good. I saw one more super chat in there. I don't know if it's that's the one right there. There it is.
Callie said, "No thing is a small role. Charmel, you rock the mic."
Yeah, she definitely did a thing in the what's that Netflix documentary? By Mike Tyson.
Yeah, it's a Netflix show. It's a Hulu show on Hulu.
Yeah. So guys, my girl definitely got a spot in there. Hell of a role. And like you say, no role is too small. Seriously, no role is too small.
There's only no such thing as small parts, just small actors. That's what they say. But Book, it's time. It's time to get on out of here.
We
said it all,
man. I got to go down here and get these braised ribs, man. Charmel brought for me last night. I'm gonna throw it in the oven, make sure they nice and tender. But I want to thank everybody for stepping inside the Hall of Fame, getting your champagne wishes, carry your dream. No, we didn't get a chance to talk about CM Punk may not be returning to AEW. We'll get into that next week. But I want to thank everybody again for stepping inside the Hall of Fame. Bradley, as always, we appreciate you, dog. Right now, peace. We out of here.